120 light years away from us, there's an exoplanet that can potentially host life.
I've always been obsessed with space footage, but what was recorded in 2025? It's honestly hard to believe it's real. This isn't your typical telescope shot or satellite feed. This is footage that has scientists, engineers, and basically anyone who's seen it completely stunned. We're talking about objects moving in ways that defy physics, flashes of light where there shouldn't be any, and anomalies that nobody can explain. Some people are calling it a breakthrough. Others think it's something we were never meant to see. All I know is, whatever this was, it changes everything. NASA's high-definition lunar sunset, aka the moment we all collectively whispered, "Wait, the moon can do that?" So in March 2025, something quietly legendary happened while most people were too busy doom-scrolling or waiting for another blurry UFO clip to drop. Firefly Aerospace, yes, that Firefly, managed to land their blue ghost lunar lander in Mare Crisium. Cool name, even cooler mission. And what this little robot delivered? Literal space cinema. We're talking about the first high-definition sunset ever recorded on the moon. Real footage. No CGI. No artist renderings. Just actual, crisp, jaw-droppingly surreal video of the sun dipping below the lunar horizon, caught by a machine with better camera quality than half the influencers on Earth. And let me tell you, it's not just pretty, it's weirdly haunting. Because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere like we do. There's no soft fade into orange or layers of pink clouds. What you get instead is this sharp, eerie transition where light vanishes like someone turned off a switch. The real show, though? That glow. The one scientists have been nerding out over since Apollo 17. It's called the Lunar Horizon Glow, and it's not just a trick of the light. It's caused by electrostatically charged lunar dust being kicked up and floating ever so gently in that paper-thin exosphere. Apollo astronaut Gene Cernan suspected something was going on back in the day, and now Blue Ghost finally proved it in 4K. The lander launched back on the 15th of January, riding shotgun on a SpaceX Falcon 9, and by the 2nd of March, it was chilling on the moon, running science experiments and capturing visuals like it was shooting an A24 film. Over 14 days, it didn't stop working once. No naps, no breakdowns, just straight grind. And yes, you can actually watch this footage. It's real, it's stunning, and it looks like something straight out of a dream. Except this dream is sitting on the moon, which makes it way cooler. So while everyone's arguing about aliens and secret bases, NASA's out here dropping lunar masterpieces and not even making a big deal about it. You blink, you miss it. But now that you know, you're not gonna want to. Oh, and just when you thought Blue Ghost was done flexing, it hit us with another historic first. Clear, high-definition images of the far side of the moon. Yeah, the part we never get to see from Earth. The dark side, as people love to call it, even though it gets sunlight too, just not when we're looking. Let's just be real for a second. This side of the moon has been shrouded in mystery and conspiracy theories for decades. Aliens, secret bases, ancient ruins. If it's weird, someone's claimed it lives back there. But thanks to the Blue Ghost lander, we finally have real up-close views that don't look like they were shot on a 2002 flip phone. What makes this so epic isn't just the resolution, although yes, it's ridiculously crisp, but the fact that we can now see the rugged terrain, deep impact craters, and jagged cliffs with crazy clarity. The far side is way rougher than the near side, like it's been through something, and scientists are eating this up. The difference in landscape might hold answers to how the moon formed, why its crust is uneven, and what's been slamming into it for billions of years. The Blue Ghost managed this feat using orbital relays and camera tech that honestly deserves an Oscar. The mission was supposed to focus on Mare Crisium on the near side, but Firefly Aerospace decided to go the extra mile and sneak in a little detour for history. Total legend move. And now, we're not just staring at the moon, we're understanding it. We've gone from pixelated mystery to Ultra HD reality in a matter of days. It's like opening a locked room in your house and realizing, wait, this has been here the whole time? So yeah, 2025 might just go down as the year we finally stopped guessing what's on the far side of the moon and started knowing. Like the SpaceX Starship anomaly. Well, that didn't go as planned. On the 6th of March, 2025, SpaceX tried to make Starship history again, and instead treated the world to one of the most dramatic, unintentional spacefire shows we've ever seen. This was Starship's 8th flight. Lucky number 8, right? Not quite. While the Super Heavy booster nailed its landing, caught right out of the air by the launch tower like it was no big deal, the upper stage Starship, well, it decided to go out in style. About 8 minutes into the mission, 4 of the 6 Raptor engines just gave up. They shut down mid-ascent, causing the spacecraft to lose control. Communications dropped, the craft started spinning, and from there, it was a one-way trip to uh-oh. Somewhere over the Caribbean, it broke apart, bits of it lighting up the sky over Florida, Jamaica, and even the Turks and Caicos like some kind of apocalyptic disco ball. And while SpaceX's cameras didn't catch much of the actual disintegration, a guy named Scott Ferguson did. Just an amateur astronomer? Technically, yes. But that night, he became the guy with the best footage of a $2 billion rocket spinning out of control and exploding on re-entry. Shot from the Florida Keys with a telescope, his video showed the Starship upper stage twirling through suborbital space, then erupting into a spiraling light show before becoming a fiery streak in the night sky. It looked unreal. And it wasn't just pretty lights either. The FAA temporarily grounded several major Florida airports out of fear debris might drop from the sky like cosmic shrapnel. Planes were held, flights were diverted. Everyone was left wondering, did that just happen? Yeah, it did. And we've got it on video, on the internet, forever. Just like we now have dolphins welcoming NASA astronauts, because they really needed a nice welcome party. On the 18th of March, 2025, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams came home after an accidental marathon in space. What was supposed to be a quick 8-day pit stop at the International Space Station turned into a 285-day orbital sleepover, thanks to some less than stellar issues with Boeing's Starliner. Seriously, one job. But when they finally made it back to Earth, splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico off Tallahassee, Earth decided to throw them a welcome party. That's when things got super interesting with a pod of dolphins. Yep. Actual dolphins, real ones, not CGI, not a simulation. These majestic sea rockets surrounded the SpaceX Dragon capsule, adorably named Freedom, like some kind of aquatic honor guard. And we have the drone footage to prove it. Released by NASA, it shows the capsule bobbing peacefully in the water, looking all space exhausted and probably smelling like space socks. And then, out of nowhere, dolphins. Swimming in slow circles, just vibing around the spacecraft like they were personally invested in this mission. The symbolism? Off the charts. You spend nearly 300 days floating above the Earth, staring down at our blue marble from space, and the first living creatures to greet you back? Not people. Not recovery divers. Dolphins. Like Mother Nature herself clocked in to say, "Hey, welcome home." This wasn't just a splashdown, it was a full-on Earth moment. A gentle reminder that no matter how far we go, or how long we stay in space, there's still magic waiting for us back on our own planet. And if dolphins welcoming astronauts home isn't the most wholesome thing you've heard this year, I don't know what is. Almost as interesting, though, was the mysterious flash captured from the ISS. 1 second, you're photographing the Milky Way. The next, you catch Earth literally getting hit in the face by space. On the night of September 2nd, 2024, NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic was up aboard the International Space Station, doing astronaut things, setting up a time-lapse shot to capture the Milky Way's core like a cosmic photographer. But instead of stars, what he caught was something way more chaotic. A bright green and white explosion over the Mediterranean Sea. What he accidentally filmed was a bolide, which is basically a meteor that enters Earth's atmosphere and says, "Nope, I'm going out with a bang." It tore through the sky above Cairo, got absolutely wrecked by friction and pressure, and exploded in a flash so intense it outshone actual thunderstorms in the same frame. Think natural fireworks, but in space. And terrifying. The whole thing got captured on a time-lapse camera that Dominic had running at 1 frame per second. That slow frame rate made it crystal clear. This wasn't a satellite. This wasn't lightning. This was a full-on cosmic sucker punch. Dominic posted the footage to social media and straight up admitted he didn't know what he'd just witnessed. He even had to check with his science buddies to confirm it was a bolide. Which is fair, because when the sky lights up green while you're floating 250 miles above Earth, you probably want a second opinion. It's moments like this that make the ISS feel like the ultimate observation deck. You're not just looking down at cities and oceans, you're front row for cosmic events that most people never even notice. Oh, and as a bonus, Dominic also captured a hurricane from space the same week. No big deal, just casually documenting the forces of nature from low Earth orbit. Astronaut life, constantly filming stuff and accidentally catching space drama. But what's drama without cats? When NASA sent a cat video from 19 million miles away and made it look better than your webcam. In December 2023, NASA decided to do something completely out of left field. And somehow, it was both adorable and historic. Using a deep space probe floating 19 million miles from Earth, the agency successfully beamed back an ultra-high-definition video. Not of planets, not of stars, but of a cat named Taters. Yes, seriously. This was all part of their deep space optical communications experiment, NASA's shiny new method of using laser tech to transmit data from deep space. And when they wanted to test that transmission, they didn't send equations or dull calibration patterns. They sent Taters, an orange tabby chasing a laser pointer, streaming from deep space in 15 seconds of glorious 267 megabits per second 4K. Let's just appreciate that for a second. They were transmitting at a rate nearly 100 times faster than what traditional deep space radio signals can manage. From a distance, it would take light over 1.5 minutes to reach us. And it wasn't pixelated nonsense. It was smooth, clean, full-resolution footage. The clip wasn't just for laughs. It included real-time overlays showing the spacecraft's trajectory, laser system specs, and how DSOC could power future missions. We're talking real-time Mars communication, 4K video from Europa, and whatever else humanity decides to poke around in next. So yeah, December 11th, 2023 didn't just give us a viral feline moment. It marked a serious upgrade in space communication, one that could change how we interact with future astronauts and missions. Taters might have just become the first cat to help us talk to Mars faster. And if you're still waiting for your video to buffer in 2025, this ultra-high-definition video from deep space. Yeah, just NASA casually reminding us that the future is officially here. At NASA's Johnson Space Center, things are getting very real, very fast for the Artemis II crew. Astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen have been deep in training for their upcoming 10-day lunar flyby, the first crewed mission in NASA's Artemis program. This isn't just symbolic, it's a critical stepping stone for getting humans back on the moon. This week, the team focused on something that sounds simple, but could make all the difference in a high-stress moment: emergency exit drills. Specifically, they practiced how to safely exit the Orion spacecraft in the event something goes wrong after splashdown, before recovery crews can reach them. These scenarios include everything from leaks to capsule instability to delays in pickup. The drills are meant to prepare the crew to act fast and confidently, even when floating alone in the open ocean. It might not be the most high-tech part of the mission, But it's exactly the kind of behind-the-scenes training that ensures these astronauts can handle any situation thrown their way. When you're returning from the moon at 24,500 miles per hour, you want to be ready for everything, even the moment after you land. And to give the public a better idea of what that re-entry and splashdown actually looks and feels like, NASA released never-before-seen footage captured from inside the Orion spacecraft during Artemis I. The video puts you in the capsule during its fiery plunge through Earth's atmosphere. You can see the orange glow of re-entry, hear the internal sounds as the spacecraft rattles and decelerates, and watch it slow from 24,500 miles per hour to a smooth 20 miles per hour before splashing down in the Pacific. It's not a simulation, it's the real deal. A front row seat to what future astronauts will experience. Between intense training sessions and high-resolution re-entry footage, NASA isn't just preparing for Artemis II, they're showing us exactly what it takes to pull off a mission like this. Space is dangerous, complicated, and unpredictable. But these astronauts, they're getting ready for all of it. While we're on the topic of astronauts, they also gave us the lighter side of the moon landing. Because even in a vacuum, astronauts found time to goof off. You've seen the serious photos, the flag, the boots, the solemn salutes. But the Apollo missions weren't all work and solemn science. As shown in the incredible Fun on the Moon footage, these astronauts also brought a ton of personality to the surface of another world. It's moonwalking meets road tripping, meets dad jokes in low gravity. It really doesn't get any better than that. The video opens with astronauts John Young and Charlie Duke cruising across the lunar surface in the lunar roving vehicle, cracking jokes like they're in a 1970s space sitcom. "Barney Oldfield's got nothing on me," one of them says, pretending to channel a race car driver. The joy in their voices is unmistakable. Genuine excitement at the sheer weirdness of driving a moon buggy 238,000 miles from home. They race across craters, point out bizarre rock formations, and constantly roast each other in that way only close teammates can. "You're filthy," one says. "That's why I'm glad this pressure suit is white." It's pure chemistry, and it makes the moon feel a little more human. There are stumbles, laughs, and unexpected ballet routines. At one point, an astronaut declares, "I feel like Bambi," as he bounces in the 1/6 gravity. Another chimes in, "Twinkle toes," while gliding across the dust. These guys were having a blast, literally skipping their way through one of the most dangerous environments imaginable. But in between the laughs, there are those breathtaking, reflective moments. Standing on the rim of a crater, staring out at the ancient terrain, one astronaut pauses and says, "The moon's been waiting for us for millions of years." Later, the camera pans to a shot of Earth, the blue marble shining in a sky blacker than anything on Earth, and it hits home how unreal this all really was. They chipped rocks, took samples, but they also took a moment to just be there, to appreciate the silence, the view, the fact that they were walking where no human had ever walked before. Life in space is wild, messy, and kind of hilarious, but still very, very human. And there's nothing more human than the fear of heights. But one astronaut decided he was too cool to have that fear, and filmed it for the world and beyond to see. Felix Baumgartner's Supersonic Freefall. Imagine standing on a tiny platform 128,000 feet above Earth. There's no wind, no sound, just black sky above and a blue marble far below. That's where Felix Baumgartner found himself in 2012, wearing a pressurized spacesuit strapped into a helium balloon gondola, about to step off the edge of the stratosphere. For real. His goal: to become the first person to break the sound barrier without a vehicle. Just body and gravity. No wings, no engines, just pure freefall. Right after jumping, everything looked smooth. Felix remembers the first 25 seconds feeling surprisingly controlled. But at Mach 1, over 700 miles per hour, things started going sideways. Literally. He began spinning uncontrollably, something no simulation had properly prepared him for. At that altitude, there's no air resistance, so you can't just stretch your arms and expect stability. The spin picked up speed, faster and faster, until it wasn't about records anymore. It was survival. He said at 600 miles per hour, blood has only one way to leave your skull, through your eyeballs. If that happened, it was game over. But then, something clicked. Felix described that final moment, taking a deep breath of normal air after hours in a sealed suit, as pure relief. That, and the fact that he didn't die. So, what does it really feel like to jump from space? Absolutely terrifying, incredibly risky, and unforgettable. But there's nothing that comes close to what the sun really looks and sounds like. Let's be honest, every time someone says don't look directly at the sun, we immediately want to look at it. Luckily, NASA has us covered with actual high-definition footage of the sun that won't fry your eyeballs. Thanks to the Solar Dynamics Observatory, we now have incredibly detailed close-up views of the sun, captured in multiple ultraviolet wavelengths, each one tuned to show off a different temperature of solar material. These wavelengths are invisible to the human eye, so NASA colorizes each one to highlight features like coronal loops, where solar plasma follows massive arcs of magnetic energy, and solar flares, which are violent, sudden eruptions from the sun's surface. Some of these bursts release more energy in seconds than the entire planet uses in 1,000,000 years. And yes, they're that powerful. This isn't just space eye candy, it's called thermonuclear art, and every second of footage takes hours of processing. 1 minute of this cinematic science, about 10 hours of editing. Totally worth it. But NASA didn't stop at pretty visuals. You can also listen to the sun. Sort of. Using data from the Sunrise Balloon-Borne Telescope, scientists converted the sun's surface vibrations into sound, giving us a haunting, pulsing roar. It's the result of massive, constant movements beneath the surface, convection, magnetic tremors, and pressure waves that ripple like an endless drumbeat. And if that isn't intense enough, the sun has also been filmed in 4K Ultra HD, so crisp and detailed, you can watch loops of plasma dance along its magnetic field lines in real time. In these shots, the surface isn't smooth. It's turbulent, chaotic, alive. Like a giant glowing ocean of lava, stretching 865,000 miles across and never sitting still. The sun has been shining for 5 billion years, and it'll keep burning for 5 billion more. But it's only now, with these missions, that we're finally seeing it up close, in full detail. Let's talk about Zebra Rock. Oh, you've heard of it? The pretty striped stone from Western Australia? That charming little 670 million year old relic, shaped by some nice, boring geological process? Sure, that's what they tell you. That it's just iron-rich sediment, laid down in ancient waters, pressed into place by time. But if that's true, if that's all there is to it, then someone explain this. NASA's Perseverance rover just found another one. Not in Australia. Not on Earth. On Mars. Did you hear about that? Probably not. They slipped it into the reports, buried under technical jargon, like it's just another rock. Just another day on the red planet. But here's the problem. It's not just another rock. It shouldn't be there. A striped black and white stone sitting in Jezero Crater, sticking out like it wants to be noticed. They named it Freya Castle, probably hoping the fancy name would distract from the real question. What the hell is it doing there? The original Zebra Rock, the one we do know about, is unique. Found almost exclusively in the Kimberley region of Australia, it's a rare, one-of-a-kind formation. Scientists say it came from shallow, iron-rich water, a slow buildup of minerals over time shaped by the prehistoric world. Fine, that's all well and good. But Mars? Mars doesn't have lakes like that. It doesn't have the same chemistry, the same slow, delicate layering process. So where did this thing come from? NASA, of course, has its theories. The usual suspects: volcanic rock, maybe cooled in phases, its stripes just mineral deposits forming at different rates. Or maybe it's metamorphic, heat and pressure twisting it into a banded mystery. Maybe it rolled down from higher ground, an interplanetary traveler tumbling into the rover's path. Sounds nice, doesn't it? A tidy explanation. But let's be real. If Earth's zebra rock is already rare, already an anomaly, what are the odds that a rock with a nearly identical striped pattern just happens to show up on Mars? A planet where nothing like it has been seen before? While we're busy trying to wrap our heads around alien zebra rock, something else is tearing through our atmosphere. Something bright and fast called blue jet lightning. It was caught in 2021, shooting upward from a storm cloud into the stratosphere. Not the way it was captured from space, where we never should have seen it. A bolt of pure energy, surging not down to Earth, but away from it. Think about that for a second. Lightning is supposed to go toward the ground, to find the path of least resistance, to strike us. But blue jets? They don't follow the rules. They launch themselves upward, 50 kilometers up, into the stratosphere. And for what? Just to fizzle out? To disappear into nothing? That's what they want you to believe. That it's just ionized nitrogen, glowing blue, burning out in a fraction of a second. Just another transient luminous event, a TLE if you want to sound official. But blue jets aren't alone. They travel with other anomalies, other strange, barely understood flashes of energy. The ISS didn't just catch the blue jet, it caught 5 intense flashes right before it, as if something was building up, charging the air, getting ready for something bigger. And right as that jet took off, another phenomenon appeared. Something called an ELV. You ever heard of those? Thought not. They're not exactly common knowledge. ELVs aren't lightning. They aren't storms. They're rings of light that explode into existence at the bottom of the ionosphere, stretching out in giant circles in the blink of an eye. A flash so fast, so high up, that nobody on Earth ever sees them. They last 30 microseconds. You can't blink that fast. You wouldn't even know they were there. But they are there. The ISS saw it all, an electrical pulse racing upward, a blue jet chasing it into the sky, and an ELV lighting up the atmosphere like a cosmic ripple. And yet, no one's asking the real question. No one's wondering why it happens. Why Earth's electrical systems are hurling energy into space instead of keeping it down here. And beginning to understand the raw, untamed power that fuels everything on Earth. It's violent, it's beautiful, and somehow it's still keeping us all alive. Have you been able to put your mind around it?